All right. Good morning, everyone. It's Dr. Phil. It is Thursday. I think it's like the 10th, maybe. It's about 8:30 in the morning. So I just uploaded your exam into Blackboard. So it should be loaded and fully available. So there's going to be 50 questions, multiple choice. They will all be randomly generated questions. So not everyone will get the same questions. I'm also going to scramble the possible answers, but the right answer will be the same for everyone. If you get the same question, that'll be true. If you need special accommodations, please let me know. If you need extra time or anything, help with maybe reading the test or whatever it happens to be, please let me know before the 17th at 11:59. That's when the test is due. If something comes up, please let me know. I can reset the test if there's an issue, but you've got to let me know. So I just wanted to go through the book
Good morning.
and let you know what is going on as far as the exam. So I literally went through the book, and I didn't bring my copy in, but my book at home, I literally go in and highlight that. So I could ask you a question on the definition of one of the carbohydrates, lipids, protein, vitamins, whatever it happens to be. There's going to be a question on calories. So if I give you a meal and I tell you there's 3 grams of fat, 4 grams of protein, 6 grams of carbohydrates, what would be the total caloric input or intake of that? And you should be able to figure that out by the amount of carbohydrates in each gram of carbohydrates, protein, fats, or whatever it happens to be. All right, so I know there's a couple questions on that. So you'll probably get a randomly generated one of those questions. All right, and then I definitely going into the scientific method. So I want you to sort of know the scientific method, anecdotal, what's a bias, research, what's your hypothesis. All right, what else did I put in here? I wanted to go over real quick. So here's a whole thing on scientific method. All right, it's part of the curriculum. We really have to test you in any of these science courses, whether it's a majors course or not. We have to introduce the scientific method. So if you've taken a science course before, I'm sure they've gone over it. It's just something that Middle States requires that we ask you about. All right, so just know what hypothesis is, peer review, the conclusion, analysis, what's the experiment, what is a double blind, what would be a bias, what's the placebo effect, right? What else did I put in there? I kind of know what bias is, and bias would really be when you're reading a research paper or when you're reading anything. We'll talk later on. We'll talk a little bit about these nutritional ads and what is fake, what's a testimonial, do they work, what is marketing, what's true, what's not. So kind of know what a bias is, and please realize that some people that are writing these things could work for Monsanto or they could work for the government. So they might have personal beliefs that might skew their idea or might skew how they would interpret the same data that someone else would interpret differently. Okay. So just kind of go through here. If you haven't read it yet, I hope you have, or just kind of skim through it again and just really realize, what's true in these advertisements, what's not. Is it a scare tactic? Is it a testimonial? Is it anecdotal? Or is it actually based on scientific proof? Right. So be a little bit more skeptical consumer. Right. And then really kind of get into, there's some test questions back there. But in 3, really making more nutritious choices is what I'm really concerned about, as far as maybe not as much as testing it, but really how you end up with the course. So just kind of think about what might be some more nutritional choices that you could make, or what might be some things that you could substitute. So is it an empty calorie, or could you eat something that actually has nutritional value, some vitamins, some antioxidants, some phytochemicals, things like that. And then read through your book. I have I have a real issue with this whole issue with the fat-free milk. All right, I personally don't drink milk a lot, but I definitely want whole milk. I don't really want fat-free anything, because generally if something's fat-free, what they're going to do is they're going to add some kind of carbohydrates, high fructose sugar, or something to it so it tastes better. So in my opinion, I just think, for me, fat is a healthier option. Right? So don't be afraid of fat. Fat doesn't really make you fat. Really, excess carbohydrates are what generally makes most people fat. All right, and then look up here. Is it an enrichment? Is it fortified? And just please realize that even if you're processing food and you're taking the nutrients out or some of the vitamins and minerals, spraying on fractionalized vitamins onto the food doesn't really have the same bioavailability effect of a whole food supplement, something that hasn't been processed, broken down, and reassembled. So your body really recognizes whole foods much differently than it does processed foods that are broken down and put back together. Your body's pretty smart. It knows the difference. All right, and if it's missing a component, please realize that if you're consuming something that's missing a component, to run those enzymatic reactions, your body will just steal it from another part of your body. So, sometimes, what you eat can actually make you sicker. Right? If it's missing a component and your body needs it, it'll take it from another part of the body to run those enzymatic reactions. All right, so just kind of read through there and just start thinking about what you're consuming. All right, here's a piece of pizza here. They're going to say that's tomato. That's part of your vegetable. The sauce is part of the vegetable. And now what this crust is. Pizza is delicious. We all, most everyone likes it. But right now I've switched to cauliflower pizza. Right, not quite as tasty, but a much healthier option. So once again, just really start thinking about, serving size, what you're eating. Are you eating because you're hungry? Are you eating because you're bored? Are you eating because you saw something on TV that you liked or something smelled good? So just realize, why you're eating and what you're eating. All right, so start thinking your head around what. And then you can go into whatever diet plan you want. On my plate, we talked in discussion about the keto diet or some of these other modified diets. And don't think that diet really is a way of reducing calories. Really, a diet would be, what is your plan for eating? Are you meal prepping? What are some things that you might substitute for a candy bar, or what might you substitute for a milkshake or a calorie-ridden soda, or I guess you guys call it pop here, whichever. And then you can pick, you'll notice too here, there's different diet pyramids, right? Whether it's Mediterranean, Asian, if you're sometimes with the Latino population, they like to do complementary foods. And this is out there. I generally kind of think personally, my opinion, that the pyramid was outdated the minute they published it, but that's just my reaction. And then realize when you're buying these foods, reduced fat. Once again, you're reducing fat, but if you go and read the food label, are they adding carbohydrates? So is your total caloric intake less or equal? And how is your body going to process those extra carbohydrates as opposed to processing that fat, which is digested much slower and keeps you satiated much longer? And what else did I put in there? I think that's it. I asked you a couple basic questions about megadosing and overdosing. And in here I didn't get into any of these specifics. I could have, but it's not really important. I mean, read through that and realize, what some of these things do. Lavender, melatonin, we all kind of should know that is going to regulate your sleep cycle. Red yeast rice, how is that healthy? How does it lower your blood cholesterol? Flaxseed, something that you could put on food to augment it, give you some extra nutrients. Ginger is really good for your stomach. Garlic is really good for lowering blood cholesterol. Right. So the test will be on chapters 1 through 3. and then we'll jump into chapter 4, really talk about digestion and some of the more interesting things with not microbiology, no, I'm in the microbiology classroom, sorry, with digestion and how your food absorbs these things, and we'll get into the microbiome and things like that. So I'm gonna pop this into Blackboard. If you have any other questions, please let me know. If there's an issue with taking the exam, please also let me know. So I've literally given you, I want to say I gave you a week. So whether you're working or whatever, you have the weekend or Saturday, or if you can find an hour or two to break free and take the exam whenever you want to. 2 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, doesn't really matter. Please also remember, once you start the exam, the timer is running. So don't take the exam and then go take a break or whatever, or try to look up every question, because you just won't have enough time. You'll run out of time. And then if you run out of time, anything you didn't answer is going to be marked wrong. All right? And you also can't backtrack. All right? I used to let students backtrack, but statistically, I know they were looking up a lot of the answers, which is fine, but for right now, 50 questions, multiple choice, randomly generated. You should have plenty of time. Most students complete the exam in 30, 35 minutes. All right, so, all right, any questions, just email me.